Maria and Tom both wanted to speak English fluently. They both had big dreams of being able to understand movies without subtitles and communicate easily with others. However, they started their journey in very different ways. Marie was very excited when she first decided to learn English. She imagined herself speaking perfectly in no time. But soon, she realized that learning English was not as easy as she had thought. She found that trying to learn everything at once was overwhelming. She tried to study grammar for hours and memorize long lists of words, but she quickly became tired and frustrated. She knew she had to change something if she wanted to succeed. One day, Maria decided to try a different approach. She didn't want to keep struggling with big tasks that made her feel stuck. Instead of focusing on doing everything, she decided to start small. Maria believed that starting with little actions every day would help her build strong habits over time. So, she made a simple plan. Each day, she would do just one small thing to practice her English. Maria started by listening to a short English podcast every morning. At first, it only lasted 5 minutes, but that was enough. She didn't worry about understanding every word. She just wanted to hear English every day. Then, Maria added another small habit, learning just one new word every day. It wasn't much, but it felt easy. She didn't pressure herself to learn more than that. Over time, Maria noticed something amazing. Even though she was only doing small things, they started to add up. After a few weeks, she was understanding more and more from her podcasts. The new words she learned each day slowly started to make sense in conversations. She didn't feel overwhelmed anymore. Maria realized that small habits were the key to improving. She didn't need to do everything at once. Instead, she needed to do something small every day. Tom, on the other hand, felt that learning English was a huge challenge. He knew he wanted to speak fluently, but every time he started, he felt lost. He would spend hours studying grammar rules and memorizing lists of words, just like Maria had. But after a few days, he would give up. It felt too hard, and he didn't see any progress. Tom often asked himself, "Why isn't this working for me?" One day, he talked to Maria about how frustrated he was. Maria listened carefully and then shared her experience with him. She told Tom how she started by making small changes every day. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, she focused on just one small habit at a time. Maria suggested that Tom try starting with something small, like listening to a 5-minute English podcast or learning one new word each day. It might sound simple, but Maria explained that small habits are powerful. They may seem small at first, but over time, they build up to big changes. Tom was skeptical, but he decided to give it a try. He started by listening to an English podcast during his lunch break. It wasn't long, just 5 minutes, but he tried to focus on the words he could understand. After a few days, he began to feel more confident. The idea of learning a new word every day seemed easy, so he added it to his routine. He didn't need to memorize long lists or study for hours. He just learned one word a day. Slowly, Tom realized that he was making progress. It was happening little by little, but it was happening. His small efforts were paying off. The most important thing that both Maria and Tom learned was that learning English doesn't have to be difficult or overwhelming. You don't need to spend hours every day or try to learn everything at once. Instead, you can start with one small habit. By focusing on small, simple actions every day, you can gradually build up your skills. If you are just starting your journey to learn English, remember that you don't need to be perfect. It's okay to start small, whether it's listening to a podcast for a few minutes, reading a short article, or learning one word. Every little action counts. It may not seem like much at first, but with time, it will make a big difference. The key is to keep going. Even when you don't see huge results right away, you are still making progress. Every small habit you build today will bring you one step closer to speaking English confidently in the future. So, don't rush, start small, stay consistent, and enjoy the process. Maria and Tom had both made great progress in their English learning journey by starting small. However, soon they encountered the next challenge, staying consistent. While their small habits helped them get started, maintaining these habits every day proved to be more difficult than they expected. Maria, despite her small steps, began to feel frustrated after a few weeks. She had been listening to her English podcast every morning and learning one new word each day, but some days she felt like she wasn't improving as fast as she had hoped. She started thinking, maybe I should do more. Maybe I need to study longer to see real progress. She thought about trying new study methods or spending more time on grammar exercises. However, she realized that doing too much at once could make her feel overwhelmed again, just like when she started. At the same time, Tom was struggling with a different problem. He would often start his English practice in the morning, but after a few days, he would miss a day, then two, and sometimes even a week. He would tell himself, I'll study tomorrow, but the next day would come, and he would find another excuse. He knew that he wasn't being consistent, but he didn't know how to fix it. One evening, Maria and Tom talked about their struggles. Maria admitted that she was starting to doubt if her small habits were enough. Tom shared how he often skipped his daily practice, even though he knew he should keep going. They both realized that staying consistent with any habit, whether it's learning English or anything else, is difficult. But then, Maria reminded Tom of something important. We don't have to be perfect, she said. What matters is that we show up every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Maria explained that consistency is not about doing everything right all the time. It's about repeating small actions regularly, even on days when you don't feel like it. If we can just do something small every day, even on days when we're tired, we will keep moving forward, she added. Tom listened carefully and decided to give it a try. He started by setting very simple goals. Instead of thinking he had to study for hours, he made a plan to listen to an English podcast for just 5 minutes each morning. He also promised himself that, even on his busiest days, he would learn at least one new word. No matter what, he would do these two things every day. At first, it wasn't easy. Some mornings, Tom forgot to listen to the podcast, or he didn't feel like learning a new word. But he kept reminding himself that it wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, even in small ways. Slowly, Tom realized that even 5 minutes a day made a difference. He started to feel proud of his consistency, even though it was small. It didn't matter that he didn't have a long study session every day. What mattered was that he was doing something every day. Maria also learned how to keep going. She set a new rule for herself. If she missed a day, she wouldn't let it turn into 2 or 3 days without practice. She made a habit of listening to her podcast first thing in the morning, even if she was tired. It became part of her routine, just like brushing her teeth. Sometimes, she didn't feel like doing it, but she did it anyway. And even though she didn't always feel like she was improving quickly, she started noticing little changes. She understood more of the podcast, and the new words she learned were starting to pop up in conversations. What Maria and Tom both realized was that consistency doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It's about building a routine and sticking to it, even if that routine is small. Some days are harder than others, and that's okay. The important thing is that you keep going, even if you're not seeing huge results right away. For anyone learning English, it's normal to face challenges with consistency. Some days, you'll feel motivated and excited, but other days, you might feel tired or distracted. That's part of the process. What's important is that you find ways to keep going, no matter how small the action is. Start by setting realistic goals for yourself. If you can, make your English practice a daily habit, like drinking your morning coffee or getting ready for bed. You don't have to study for hours. You just need to do something every day. And when you miss a day, don't be hard on yourself, just get back on track the next day. Over time, these small actions will add up, and you will see progress. Maria and Tom's journey wasn't about perfection. It was about learning to stick with their habits and keep moving forward. They found that staying consistent, even in small ways, was the key to their success. And now, they are both much closer to speaking English fluently. The same can happen for you. Don't give up, even on the days that are hard. Keep showing up, and you will make progress, step by step. Maria and Tom had learned a lot about the importance of starting small and staying consistent in their English learning journey. But there was one more powerful tool they needed to embrace: positive thinking. This might seem simple, but it had a huge impact on their progress and motivation. Maria often found herself doubting her abilities. There were days when she felt like she wasn't improving fast enough. She would think, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe English is just too difficult for me. These thoughts would make her feel frustrated and less motivated to keep going. She would skip her daily practice or put off learning new words. On those days, it was hard to stay positive. But one day, Maria decided to change the way she thought about learning English. Instead of focusing on what she couldn't do, she started to focus on what she had already accomplished. She reminded herself that she had been learning English for several weeks and that she had already learned many new words and understood more from her podcasts. She started saying to herself, I am improving every day. I am learning, even if it's slow. Every small step counts. At first, it was hard for Maria to stay positive every day. She had been used to thinking that if she wasn't perfect, she wasn't doing well. But slowly, her mindset began to shift. She started to see every small action as progress, and this made her feel better about her learning journey. Every time she learned a new word, every time she understood a bit more of the podcast, she would celebrate her success. Maria realized that focusing on her progress, no matter how small, helped her stay motivated to keep going. Tom also had to learn how to change his thinking. In the beginning, he often thought that learning English was too difficult for him. He compared himself to others who seemed to speak English easily and thought, I will never be as good as them. These negative thoughts made him feel discouraged and made it hard for him to stay consistent. He would skip days of practice, telling himself that it wasn't worth it. One day, Tom spoke to Maria about his feelings. She told him that the way he was thinking was holding him back. Tom, she said, it's not about being perfect. It's about believing that you can improve. If you focus on the small steps you take every day, you will get better over time. Maria explained that positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring the challenges. It means believing that you can overcome them, even when things are hard. Tom decided to try changing his mindset. Instead of thinking, I'm not good at English, he started telling himself, I'm an English learner, and I'm getting better every day. Even when he made mistakes, he reminded himself that mistakes are part of learning. He started celebrating the small victories, like understanding a new word or speaking a sentence in English. Slowly, Tom's attitude began to change. He no longer saw his mistakes as failures, but as opportunities to learn and improve. Maria and Tom both discovered that their mindset played a huge role in their success. Positive thinking gave them the strength to keep going, even on the tough days. They stopped focusing on their mistakes and instead focused on their progress. This shift in thinking made learning English feel less like a challenge and more like a rewarding journey. For anyone learning English, it's important to remember that your thoughts shape your progress. If you think that learning English is too hard or that you're not good enough, you might find it harder to stay motivated. But if you start to believe that you can improve, that you are capable of learning, you will find it easier to keep going. Start by changing the way you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I am learning and improving every day. Celebrate the small successes, like learning a new word or understanding a phrase. These small wins will help you stay positive and motivated. Remember, learning English is not about being perfect. It's about making progress, no matter how small. The power of positive thinking lies in the belief that you can get better with each step you take. Focus on what you can do, and with time, your confidence will grow. Maria and Tom learned that by changing their mindset, they could shape their English learning journey in a way that was enjoyable, encouraging, and full of progress. And the same can happen for you too. Stay positive, believe in yourself, and keep learning, one small step at a time. Maria and Tom both started their journey to learn English with big dreams and high expectations. At first, they both struggled, feeling overwhelmed and frustrated by how much they thought they needed to learn all at once. Maria tried to study everything, from grammar to vocabulary, all in one go. Tom, on the other hand, would start strong but soon found himself skipping practice, making excuses, and feeling discouraged. But through small, consistent changes, they both learned how to turn their dreams into reality. Maria learned that the key to progress wasn't in big efforts but in small habits that she could repeat every day. Instead of trying to study everything, she focused on just one small task each day, listening to a podcast for 5 minutes or learning one new word. Slowly, these tiny habits started to add up, and she began to see real improvement. Tom, after struggling with staying consistent, also learned that the small habits he set for himself were more important than trying to do everything at once. He found that positive thinking helped him push through difficult days. He started telling himself, "I am an English learner, and I am improving every day," instead of focusing on how hard things felt. By changing their mindset and focusing on small, consistent actions, both Maria and Tom made steady progress in their English learning journey. They no longer felt overwhelmed, and they stopped comparing themselves to others. They realized that the path to success was not about being perfect, but about showing up every day, even when it felt difficult. With positive thinking and consistent effort, they both grew in confidence and ability. The lesson we can learn from Maria and Tom's story is that success doesn't come from big, overwhelming efforts. It comes from small, consistent actions that you repeat every day. Whether you are learning English, working on a new skill, or pursuing a goal, it's important to start small, stay consistent, and believe in your ability to improve. When you focus on progress rather than perfection, you can accomplish great things, one small step at a time. Congratulations on reaching the end of this story. By listening to this, you've already improved your English listening skills and are one step closer to fluency. Keep up the great work. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please answer this simple question in the comments. Which is more important for success, are doing big efforts all at once? Be starting small and being consistent. Don't forget to comment your answer below and share your thoughts with us. And please, subscribe to the channel to support our work. Your subscription helps us stay motivated to continue creating high-quality content. If you found this story helpful, feel free to donate. Running this channel takes time and resources, and your contribution can make a big difference. We're doing this to help you learn English for free, but we still need support to keep going. Thank you so much for your kindness.